You ever find yourself wishing that your life is different from how it's turned out or from how it is? Do you ever find yourself um, thinking, I could get to goal or I could change my circumstances, I could achieve my results if only this wasn't happening or that wasn't in the way? Are you fighting with reality? Our brains are constantly observing and interpreting the world. And along the way, our brains are making up a whole heap of stories about the world and our place in it. And very often, when our brains get filled up with that chatter, with rules for living or how it's supposed to be, we create expectations. And then we create expectations of the results we're supposed to get. If you are joining me live, just make sure you say hi in the comments. If you're joining on replay, make sure you type replay and let me know you're here. You know those situations, right? You've done a really great week. You've worked hard on your weight loss. You've made healthy choices. You've done your exercise. Maybe you did a bit extra than normal. And then you get on the scales and they haven't moved. You think that they should be different than they are. Or that you shouldn't be. Insert an emotion here. Frustrated, angry, sabotaging. You know better. You should be doing better than you are. Or that things shouldn't be happening. I hear a lot of people at the moment think that, well, I can't lose because the COVID safety restrictions mean that I can't do what I would normally do. I can't get out there. I can't join my group training program, or I can't be doing my normal social activities. Can't travel to where I want to. Rosanna, you say yes, you are. Okay. You're not alone. So many of us do it. And have you noticed that when we end up fighting with reality, we inflict ourselves with judgment and criticism and doubt? We think we're doing it wrong or that we are wrong. Sometimes these stories become so practiced that we become believers in the idea that we're hopeless or that we're lazy, that we're undisciplined. We're no good at it. We're powerless to change. And if left unquestioned, those thoughts become our habitual thinking. Practicing them repeatedly turns them into beliefs, into our truth. And sometimes we adopt them as part of our identity. Today, I want you to know that it doesn't make them true. It doesn't make them a fact. It's just the reality that we're choosing. Today, I want to help you try a different approach. Instead, I'm going to recommend that you become present with what is. I'm going to show you how to do that. Of course, if you don't know me, I'll say hi again. My name is Brian Granger. I'm a life coach and a weight loss coach. And I woke up to this realization during my weight loss journey. About 14 years ago now, I lost 50 kilos and I've maintained it ever since. And ever since then, I've helped thousands of people transform their habits, create healthier routines, and achieve their goals. And now I help frustrated dieters get out of the diet mentality, stop sabotaging, and then actually create a life you can live. Now, of course, that requires that you acknowledge what is. Don't ever get there fighting with reality. Because have you noticed, whenever you're thinking that things should be different from they are, or that you're fighting with reality, we lose. Byron Katie says that. That's a famous quote. She says, when we argue with reality, we lose, but only 100% of the time. And I've always seen it to be true that when we fight with reality, when we resist what is happening, what are going on in our lives, or the events of our lives, or we resist how things are now, we suffer. Has that been true of you? Do you ever find yourself suffering? And I think this is needless suffering, right? We forget that we are creating our thoughts. We are all walking through reality with a certain set of filters in that come from the rules of life, if you like, the beliefs that we've picked up and adopted, created in our life from our upbringing, from our parents, from our peers, from our culture, and just from our own experience. But we start to walk through life with these filters on, and because our brain has a cognitive bias, it goes looking for evidence that that is true. And so we experience more of what we're looking for. And if you're anything like me, you might have found that you spend a lot of time looking at what's not working, what's going wrong, what's bad, what's uncomfortable, what's hard in your life. And when you walk through life with those filters on, thinking those thoughts, guess what you find? More difficulty, more hardship. It becomes your life. And you think it's true, but that doesn't make it true, right? Jamie Smart says 100% of our experience of the world comes from our thinking and never from anything else. 100% of our experience of the world comes from our thinking and never from anything else. Which is great news, because it means we actually can choose differently. We can direct our brain to consider alternatives. We can, what I call, swing the pendulum. We can look at what's good in our life, what's amazing, what's working well, what's perfect for us right now, even if it feels challenging or trying or difficult. How is that for us? And when we can find answers to that, we can start to practice making new decisions. We can let go of the suffering. And we can start to embrace what is. Which means we don't get stuck. Have you ever noticed when you're resisting, you're fighting it, it just tends to go round and round and round in your mind. You know, maybe it's I'm thinking about times when maybe someone said something critical, or you had an argument, or some, unfortunate event or an accident or something happened. And you spend time replaying it, thinking about if only I'd done this, or if I'd done that, or if this had happened differently, then things would be better. That's not how it works. When we fight, we keep the unwanted reality present with us. So instead, have you ever noticed that when we create habits that are healthy, that align with the life that we want to be living, when we take action on our own behalf, when we actually follow up and do the things we say we're going to do, our mind quiets. There's less chatter. There's less internal judgment. There's less shoulding ourselves. And when we come to acceptance of what is, or as Byron Katie would say, we come to loving what is, we calm ourselves. We reach back into our power. We stop being the victim of the world or of our circumstance and start remembering that we are the owner. It's so interesting when we're in that space, there's more silence, more space, more peace, more understanding and more compassion. Of course, we come back to this place where we can go, this is what is. All right. Now what? What am I going to do about it? What am I going to choose? What am I going to believe about me in this situation, in this circumstance? Notice how much more empowered, much more energetically forward-moving it is than resisting, fighting, and staying stuck, thinking it should be otherwise. With clarity, we get to move forward. You know, maybe even when we don't even know the way, we don't know the how. So many of us want certainty. We want to know the how to do it, or how it's going to work before we even start. Instead of understanding the real truth that we know everything we need to know right now, and that when we take the first step and the next step and the next step, as we take each step, we will learn what we need to do next. We don't have to know it ahead of time. It happens as we progress. You don't have to know every step of the way. You just have to know the first step to take. And our intuitive wisdom, our understanding, our love, our compassion, it's all available to us when we calm our mind, when we're not fighting, when we're not resisting, when we're just being present. Our wisdom has space to be heard. So in many respects, you just have to start. You just have to decide that things are perfect right now, as they are. Nothing's gone wrong. Everything's here exactly for me, even if I don't understand it or like it. And now what I want to do, right? I can move forward. And know that when we fail or stumble or we feel any disquiet, we only have to remember that all that's happened, all that's going on, is our thinking. The next lesson, the next understanding, the next decision is there available for us in that challenge. My coach recently asked this question, and it's an interesting one I've been pondering. She said, what if the purpose of being human, of living a human life, is not to be happy, but instead to evolve, to become more of who we were meant to be in this world, to level ourselves up, to improve our humanity? What if that is the challenge of our life? So that we can recognize that it's not happy and fun and sunshine and rainbows all the time. Life is 50-50. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes we feel negative emotions. But when we accept them, when we allow them in, as we understand that it's just part of the deal, we don't have to get caught up in them. We don't have to get stuck in them. I think of all emotions as just being indicator lights. They're just telling us that we've got thinking going on, that there's something important, something we need to pay attention to. They're not good or bad or positive or negative, really. They're all just messengers. But you can't listen to the message when you're thinking and saying it shouldn't be there in the first place. Maxime Lagacé, and I'm sure I'm saying that name wrong, so I apologize if I am, has a quote: "The more you understand yourself, the more silence there is, the healthier you are." How much space, how much silence, how much quiet have you allowed into your life? This is such a mistake that I see so many people making when they're going to, get healthier, lose weight, go on a diet, move more, get fitter, is that we think it just has to go on top of the rest of our life. We don't actually make space for the life we want to come in. We just try and make it cumulative. We recognize we actually have to allow space for what we want. If we fill up our mind, if we fill up our brain, if we fill up our thoughts and our day with all of the stuff we're already doing, there's no space for anything new. But you can get that space back by stop fighting what is. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments, how much time do you spend arguing with what is, fighting with reality, resisting it? How much time do you spend in denial or spinning, going over and over again, repeating the same habits again and again? What if you stopped resisting and started allowing? How much more time and energy and space would you get back? Estimations are about that, our average emotions actually only hold on to them for about 90 seconds and just flow through us. And it really moves on. But sometimes we keep them for hours, days, weeks on end because we're fighting, resisting. So you could get that time back. So one of the key skills I teach at Live More Life here is being present with what is. Noticing if you're fighting or resisting and not thinking it's good or bad or you're doing it wrong. Just ask, is it helping? And if it's not, can you instead come to acceptance? Everything is exactly as it should be. By the way, how do you know? You can always ask this question. How do you know it's exactly as it should be? Because that's the way it is. Now, there is an extra piece here to understand that when we're saying how things are, we're saying it is this way, that there's usually two categories going on. There's the drama and the facts. So let me walk you through the process that I like to use to really help you switch this around. Rosanna, most of the day. Yeah, you're not alone. It's what I used to do all of the time. I still sometimes fall into it. I'm a human with a brain. But I'm faster at noticing it now. And as soon as I do, as soon as I remember, as soon as I realize, I'm like, oh, okay, I have to do that. So here's what I do instead. So first of all, separate out. Maybe write them down on a piece of paper. Oh, and by the way, I have done a worksheet. I've got my default future versus desired future worksheet. You can find the link in the description. I really encourage you to recommend that you download it and complete this as part of this exercise. There's numerous pages that will take you through the different parts of this process. But for now, write down what are the facts, what are the drama. So a fact is something that if we got 1,000 people and asked them all, would they all agree? Things like gravity. I think it's a fact. Even if technically the rules of it break down in certain situations in the universe. But anyway, let's go with it for now. It's a fact. 1,000 people would all agree. How much of it is my interpretation of what's going on? That's the drama, right? How much of this is due to the way I'm thinking about it? When you've laid it all out, the facts and the drama, then you want to ask, how am I responsible for creating this reality? Right? We so often think that life just happens to us. We forget our role as creators in the circumstance, right? So many people tell me like, oh, I don't have time to eat healthily or go shopping or cook healthy meals or do my exercise because I've got to do this and 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 I've got to do this. And you rattle off a whole list of things of all the reasons why you can't. Okay. What responsibility can you take for choosing to do all of those things? Do you have to do them all? Can you delegate? Could they be let go of? Could they be transformed? Could they be done a different way at a different time? Could they be combined? Can they just be skipped? Right? Are there other solutions apart from you doing everything? You trying to control the world? I often find so many of us who are doing this, put my hand up here, are recovering control enthusiasts. We like to control everything in the world. But just because you've always done it a certain way doesn't mean you have to keep doing it a certain way. Just because you're believing it's true doesn't make it true. So just note down, how much of this am I responsible for creating? Then you want to ask, what do I want to create? Is this the version of my best life that I want to live? And if it's not, what do I want to create here? What do I want to put in instead? Of course, it's important to get in touch with your motivation here. So why does that matter that I make this change? And then what do I need to change about my thinking so that I can take new, empowered actions to move towards where I'm going? So what else is possible? Now, just be aware, your brain will probably give you nothing. This is just the way it is. This is the way it has to be. I'm going to offer you that chances are that's not true. So allow your brain to have its objection. Of course, it wants to keep things the way it already has them. It wants to keep you stuck. It likes to do what it's always done. So just go, yeah, okay, great, nothing. Thank you for that answer, brain. And what else is possible? And allow yourself to open up to it. Create some space in your mind. Now, the good news is, what's so much fun about this is that you get to believe anything. No one can tell you you're doing it wrong. Beliefs are just thoughts repeated. So you might not be able to control your brain, right? Your brain is a machine for making thoughts. It makes about 65,000 thoughts a day. So it's just going to have opinions about the universe and the events of the world and about yourself and about your actions and about everybody else. It's just going to have those opinions. It'll offer them to you. What we've been doing so far is just taking them on as truth without questioning them. Beliefs are just thoughts repeated. So when you notice your brain thinking thoughts, you get to decide which of those thoughts you give power to, you give energy to, you connect with, you choose to act on. And you can choose which ones to ignore. In fact, chances are you probably have thousands of thoughts a day that you already ignore. That's perfectly okay. Right? So you already have the superpower. And even more, you get to direct your conscious brain towards thoughts that do serve you. You can choose to think new thoughts on purpose, even if you don't believe them yet. You can start to program your brain. So language programs our brain, right? Our conscious thinking, about the 10% of our brain capacity that's involved in conscious thinking, directs our subconscious thinking, the 90% of our brain that does most of the work. So you can use your desired thoughts to direct your brain to create the future you want. So we call this a belief plan. And again, there's a page in the worksheets there to do your belief plan. Our thoughts always end up in our results. Whatever we think and believe guides our interpretation of the world, and our mind goes to work making that a reality, either in the physical manifestation in the world, objects, things, our body, or in our experience of the world, our mental viewpoint, our attitude, our emotions. Whatever we think and believe guides our interpretation of the world, and our mind goes to work to make it a reality. So I really want you to ask yourself today, like do the worksheet, and go, what reality are you currently creating? And what change could you make to that to align with the reality that you really want? We don't get there by fighting what is, by arguing with reality, by thinking it should be different. We change it, we transform it by shifting our thinking first, by accepting what is, believing that change is possible, and starting to think our way towards it with our conscious, directed thoughts. Nothing is happening to us. It's always happening for us. So if that's true, can you come to acceptance? Can you take ownership? And can you make the first step, that first change towards where you want to go? If you keep doing that, you'll arrive. It'll become your reality. Now, of course, if you need more help with this and with these concepts, if you want to make it practical in your life, you want to see how it's showing up, because sometimes we can't see it, then reach out to me. Of course, if you're a client, We'll talk about it in your next session. If you're not a client of mine, head to livemorelife.com.au and book a free consultation. I love talking with new people. I give you an hour of my time and let's talk together. Find out. Chances are I might be able to see some of the things that you can't see that you're creating and give you some guidance for how to change it. If that feels good to you, you can talk about how to continue work together. Or if not, you can take that guidance and you can use it or not. So let me know. What can you do to stop fighting with reality? What would you like to start to create on purpose? What would you like to believe is possible? What's the first step? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if this has been helpful for you, feel free to give me a reaction, give me a heart, give me a like. If you're watching on YouTube or on my video blog, make sure you subscribe so you get notified of every new video. And if this video would be useful for someone you know to see, then please tag them in the comments or send them the link to the video. I'd love to help out as many people as possible. I'd like to help you. All right. Well, go and accept the reality you're in and start creating the one you want. Hope this video has been useful, and I hope you have a spectacular day. All the best, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.